So in today's video, we're going to talk about my second subscription box from Hooks and Needles. Hello, my name is Sig, and this is Essential Crochet, where you are always welcomed to join us for kit reviews, yarn hauls, crochet talk, and tutorials. So let's get started. So this is a second box that I have received from Hooks and Needles. This box is for the month of February. From what I understand, I think what's happening here is for everyone who begins, everybody starts with the same box regardless of where they begin. And then there's the second box and then the third box. So your box, depending on where you began in this process, might differ from someone else's box. However, if I remember correctly, but don't quote me, you'll have to look into it for yourself. I believe they allow you to have them get you started wherever their latest box happens to be. So that's something to keep in mind. So let's take a look at what's in this box. So the first thing I get, of course, is going to be the book. And it's your basic booklet. And of course, we have our table of contents where you get your greeting, your introduction to this month's yarn, the article of the month, Crochet Your Way to Success, another article called Frogging with Ease. The next thing they offer is this month's pattern, and then Until We Unravel New Crafting Tales. So basically, their greeting in this book is short and sweet. It says, "Hearty greetings, crocheting family. Once again, we bring you a brand new craft adventure packed in your Hooks and Needles box. This month, we continue our journey through the vibrant colors and rich textures of Portugal's crocheting tradition. Are you ready to peek inside your third Hooks and Needle box?" I think they forgot to send me my second, maybe because this should only be the second box I've ever gotten from them. So maybe they just don't have the second box anymore. Maybe they've already given as many of those boxes out as they're going to. So we'll just ignore that. And here's what you will discover. So now they're going to tell me what's actually in the box. And the first thing they tell me is that I get 2 Natura Velada yarns, a delightful blend of 80% merino wool and 20% linen, bringing warmth and durability to your creations. So here is the yarn that they have given me. Now, this yarn, just on first look, it's beautiful yarn. It doesn't look like the yarn that they're showing me in the image. I can see that already. So, what do they say about the yarn? Hooks and Needles, a Natura Velada yarn. It's 80% wool, and this is telling me that it's 20% silk. Whereas in the booklet, they're telling me it's 20% linen. So again, my best guess is that while this is an earlier box of what they would normally give, they maybe ran out of the yarn that they were originally using, and so now they've given us a close proximity of a yarn that would still match, except this one happens to be wool and silk rather than wool and linen. But I'm okay with that, quite frankly, because this is a much nicer looking yarn to me than the one that's shown in the picture. And the one that's shown in the picture is a little more pinky, where this yarn is red, but it kind of has this kind of shimmer, this kind of slight shine to it that almost has a pinky hue. So it gives it a really pretty aesthetic. I'm not unhappy with this yarn at all. The only thing I can say is I wish we got more of this yarn. It really is quite beautiful. Now they say it's a light 3. I am going to have to disagree and say it's more of a 2 in my opinion. But that's okay because I don't mind working with a 2. Okay, next they give us a crochet hook. US size 7 or a 4.5 millimeter. Now, as usual, I've been given 2 hooks of the same size. I'm not really sure why they give us 2 hooks, but okay, they seem like, just your standard, super basic hook. So we'll set that aside. I'll put that in my box of hooks that I get pretty regularly in these kits. Next, they've given me a pair of embroidery scissors. Now, these are your basic embroidery scissors, the little gold bird ones, or stork. I'm not really sure what type of bird that is. I guess it kind of more or less reminds me of a stork, or possibly a road runner. All right, so that's all right. I can always use another pair of scissors. I don't have any complaints about that. We'll go ahead and set that aside. So, and then next they tell us that we're getting a detailed instruction for the project of the month. They said they've taken care of the details so we can just relax and create. Next, tips and tricks to fix any crocheting mistake, because even the most ready to create something truly special. What? I don't know that makes sense. Okay, so no, that does not make sense to me, but okay, whatever. So this is what we have, and we'll move on. So the article they give us on frogging with ease is basically how to undo stitches and fix mistakes, in their opinion, without frustration. That's debatable. It's kind of more I'm going to venture to say more a Zen approach, because they talk about, being patient, taking a deep breath, not letting it get to you, giving you some other little tips on how to fix your errors, how to best frog so that, you don't wind up with, I'm guessing, with knots in your piece inadvertently. All those things you might be interested in reading about, or you might be interested in better handling. They give us some more information on the yarn. They say, get ready to fall in love with the yarn of the month, the Natura Ballata, a premium blend. And they say 80% merino wool and 20% linen, but mine's 80% wool and 20% linen or silk. This mix strikes a beautiful balance, giving you both cozy warmth, wool, and light airiness. That's in terms of the linen, but the silk is going to give you pretty much the same thing. Let's see. So our skilled Portuguese artisans, I can't talk today, my apologies, were inspired by the color of passion and love, red, the result. A vibrant, rich red yarn that will make all of your creations pop. Each 50-gram skein offers 153 yards, perfect for your size 7 needle, just like the ones in your box. Now that you know all about the new yarn, let's explore what you'll get to create. So really, they're showing us the scarf. They say it's a romantic crochet scarf. Get ready to crochet. Get ready to create your way to cozy and fashionable perfection with this crochet scarf. Okay, so I'm looking at this scarf, and this scarf is, well, personally, I don't think this scarf is going to do this beautiful yarn any favors. The scarf, super basic scarf, so super basic that even your newest of new beginner crocheters could sit down and do it. So that what that means for somebody who's more experienced, even just by a little bit, they might be incredibly bored with this particular pattern. And it's really a shame, because this yarn really is beautiful yarn. And, no offense to anyone else out there who thinks otherwise, but quite frankly, I think this yarn could be used on a much a much nicer, more memorable piece than something that just comes off as more a kind of practice piece or a learning to crochet kind of piece. See, and I feel like the authors or the people who put this together even know this, because what they've done here is they've taken this yarn that they've used, and quite frankly, the yarn in this image right here looks a little heavier than the yarn we've gotten in our piece by a bit. This looks more like a worsted yarn in this image right here. But even so, the fabric is still much more interesting and way different looking than the piece they show us here. So there's quite a difference between the two pieces that are being shown. So I think I'm going to take a cue from this, and I'm going to create kind of because there's not a huge amount of yarn here. There's only about 100 grams. So for the 100 grams between the two balls of yarn, we're going to get just a little more than 300 yards. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead, and I'm just not going to do this because this makes me hurt inside just looking at it in terms of the yarn that's being offered up in this box. And so here, and this makes me even feel like they thought so as well, because, you know, next to their instructions, they show a totally different fabric made from a similar colored yarn. And this is also something that I've noticed about this book too, is we get a bunch of different fabric textures that could be interesting, that are nice to look at, that, you know, at least resemble in color the yarn that we were given for this piece. But then the pattern they give us is so uber beginner simple. It just, I don't understand why they did that like that. But that's okay, because I'm going to make up a different kind of scarf out of this yarn. Something that isn't going to take too much yarn, but will do this yarn a greater service than the pattern given in this box. So now that I've completed the project, it worked out pretty well. I have approximately 8 grams of yarn left over, so I'll put it in my stash for a smaller project to contribute it to. And this is the new scarf. As you can see, I chose a lacy pattern, a lacy motif. I added some beads I happen to have in my crafting box, and I made tassels for the scarf. So now it's going to be a lovely statement scarf. It'll offer a little bit of warmth, maybe on a cool summer night or a holiday scarf, if you will, because these beads have just that little bit of sparkle as a result of the facets that have been cut into the glass. And so now I think the yarn has been put to use in a more interesting piece that can be used casually, or it can be used festively. This is, I personally think that this piece is quite versatile. So yeah, so if you ever get a box, a subscription box, and the pattern you're just not feeling, there's nothing that says you cannot create something else or even something similar but different with the yarn that they give you. Until next time, have a wonderful and safe weekend. Bye-bye now.